Hello everybody, my name is Christina Bevilacqua. I'm a career counselor over at the University Career Center, and today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to use LinkedIn most effectively. So I will talk a little bit about how to create a strong profile, how to use it for networking, career exploration kind of things, and then also how to job search. So if you don't have a LinkedIn, I would encourage you to make one. It is a great platform as far as who you are, and sort of demonstrating that on social media. It's essentially the professional Facebook, and it's an online resume of who you are and what you've done. So I'm showing you today my profile for today's purposes, and you can see the first thing that you really want to think about is having a strong professional image. So we would highly encourage you to get a headshot done. We offer those for free at some of our career fairs, and you don't necessarily have to be in that major to attend and take the headshot there. So you can do it that way, or if you want to take a picture with your phone. I know we have some pretty nice cameras now on our phones, so you can definitely do that too. But make sure that you are dressed professionally. Make sure that hair, makeup, all those kinds of things are looking professional as well, not distracting. And also make sure that your background image is something that's, not distracting either. So something that is just kind of basic. And then, and that's kind of the general thing I would say. If you are, in a specific industry where you can have a little bit more creativity, then totally go for it. But that really, just understand what that is, if that it relates to you and what that looks like. You also want to have a background image that looks professional as well and is somehow related to you and your industry, or something that you've done, the experience that you've had, anything that kind of speaks to who you are as a professional. So for instance, I have an image here of Auburn University, that's where I work, and so that kind of makes sense for me to have that. You also want to include a really strong about section. So this is essentially a summary of who you are. Kind of, if you've ever heard of the term 30-second commercial, this is sort of your highlight reel, right? So it talks about your skills, your experiences, and kind of what you bring to the table that makes you unique, and then kind of goes into what your goals are for the future. And so trying to find that niche part of the industry that you are interested in. You'll also want to include your experiences. So this could be work experiences, part-time, full-time internships. Even if they don't necessarily feel like they relate, you can include them. That's totally fine. And then you can put as much, about that as you want. You definitely always want to include your education section, right? And being as specific as you can, the type of degree, that kind of thing. If you've had any minors, certificates, things like that, you'll definitely want to include that. And then from there, it's essentially like a resume, right? So with a resume, you're always going to have your education, your experience, but you can kind of from there take it to based on what you've done, and who you are and all that kind of stuff. So volunteering, if you've done anything like that, any accomplishments, awards, things that you've study abroad, anything like that. I will pop up here for a second and just return right here. You'll see this headline. Excuse me. That's sort of my title, right? And so if you have a job right now that is in industry, or you're an intern or something like that, that you feel like really speaks to what you want to be doing, or is related to that, feel free to use that. If not, I would encourage you to sort of use the term new professional. And the reason we say that is because we don't really want to use the word student, because sometimes that can kind of give the impression of not all the way professional or not all the way ready to kind of enter the workforce, that kind of thing. And you guys are new professionals, right? Because you are learning the education, the skills, the things that are related to your industry that are important. And so really speaking to that. So if you are, for instance, a marketing major, then you would consider yourself to be a marketing new professional. right? And that's perfectly acceptable to use even while you're still in school. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about really quickly here is skills and endorsements. So you want to add at least 5 skills on your resume, or essentially your resume, but your LinkedIn, right? And you want this to be strong skills, like, you know, you want the hard skills related to some of those things that it's black and white. Either you know this or you don't, software knowledge, if you speak a second language, anything related to that, certifications. And then there's also the softer skills, right? So teamwork, collaboration, organization, those kinds of things, right? And they're all going to be different based on your industry. So you'll include those, and then what you hope is that others will endorse you for those skills, meaning that whether it's a coworker, classmate, colleague, supervisor, who knows you in some capacity, in some professional way, can attest to those skills and say, yeah, I know so-and-so, and they really do have great leadership skills. The best way to receive an endorsement is to give an endorsement. So go ahead and try to find some people that you know and search for them and endorse them for those skills that you feel like they really possess. And then hopefully they will do that in return. You'll also see interest down here based on pages that you follow, things like that as well. So as far as networking is concerned, you'll see that you have connections, right? And those connections are, they can be a large amount, it can be a smaller amount. There's lots of different schools of thought on that. To me, I think it's more, quality over quantity. You want to make sure that those are people that you really could see yourself being interacting with, wanting to talk to, wanting to stay informed about, people that you really think could be helpful to you in your future. Now, that's not to say that you can't network out of industry, right? Because you never know who knows someone who could potentially have a resource for you, or someone that you could talk to that could lead to a job or something like that. But for the most part, you want to have some sort of connection with them in some way, even if that just means that they attended the same school as you, that kind of thing. And you can see that it kind of populates people that I may know based on what I've included in my profile. So you can see there's connections here for Auburn, there's connections from my college that I graduated from, that kind of thing, right? So you can add people that way and then start chatting, and asking them anything, really. I mean, you can look at their profile. If they've worked at somewhere that you are interested potentially in working in, you can ask them about that. What was their experience, that kind of thing. What was the experience post-graduation and finding a job and all that kind of stuff. If they have any tidbits or information that they can offer you as far as things that could be helpful, that kind of thing. You can also join groups. That's a great way to network as well. So if we look, for instance, for career counselor group, there's a whole group here, College Coordinator and Career Counselors Lounge, right? So this has over 10,000 professionals. That's a lot of people in that group, but they're all in my industry, which is really cool. So we can talk to each other and, give each other advice and support and, just overall connect with one another, and potentially you never know what it could lead to, right? So that's a really great way to do that. The other way you can do that is through looking up alumni specifically. So if we look up Auburn University, I would encourage you to follow Auburn. And then if you go over to alumni, this is also a great way to talk to students about what they've been doing, or even just see where they've been working and kind of get an idea for, like, if you're in an industry that's maybe a little more broad and you're not really sure where to start or what kinds of jobs might be available, just a way to kind of see what they've been up to. This is also a great way to do what's called an informational interview. So if you're looking to explore a specific career more in depth, but you're wanting to know more about it, you can actually reach out to these folks and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm currently majoring in marketing or whatever it is, and I would love to learn more about what you do. Now, when you do that, you want to reach out to people who have been in their career for a while, who have some experience under their belt, potentially people who have been in some sort of supervisory role, right? So they've kind of advanced in their careers. And you do not want to ask for a job in that kind of situation, right? So whether you talked over the phone, email, in person, which I think would be most beneficial probably, but of course there's geographic considerations there, but you don't want to straight up ask for a job, but you do, what you're doing is opening that door there. You're networking, definitely. And people are a little more likely to, sit down with you, chat with you, because you have that connection already through the university, right? So later down the line, if something were to come up, maybe they have an internship, maybe they have a job that's opening, they'll think to themselves, I remember so and so, and we had a great conversation, and I wonder if they'd be interested, and it's as simple as that. The one thing that you always want to make sure you ask at the end of an informational interview is there anyone else that you think would be helpful for me to speak to, right? Because that's, again, expanding your network a little bit. So it's a really great way to get started by looking through. You can look through different filters: where they live, where they work, what they do, skills, things like that. I'll also really quickly explain here this connection piece. So when you see these first, second, third connections, what first means is that I am directly connected with that person in some way, right? I'm already connected with them. We're friends, essentially, right? Second means that there's some sort of degree of separation. Second and third, rather, really mean that between myself and the person that's populating here on the search. So we have a mutual connection somewhere, and it's just to what degree. So for a second connection, that would mean that I knew somebody and that other person, unknown person, knows somebody else. We both know the same person, and that's sort of our mutual connection there, right? It's kind of like on Facebook when you see that you have mutual friends with somebody. And then if it was third connection, that would mean that there was an additional person between myself and that other person, as far as our degree of separation. And so let's say we looked at, business administration, and maybe we want to see people who graduated, 10 years ago, just to kind of see, we want some of those more people that are a little more advanced in their career and have had more experience. So I'm looking at all of these profiles here. I can click on one. I can see what headline, right? So what's this person been doing? Their experiences, where have they been working? Essentially their online resume, right? And then I can reach out to them and try to get some information. All right, and the last thing you can do with your profile is search for jobs and also for internships. So you can start by, let's say I just looked for career counselor jobs, right? Then there's a ton of filters that you can put in as well. So job type, right? Part-time, full-time, internships, where it's located, companies, job function, experience level, right? So if you're looking for more entry level, that kind of stuff. And you'll see a bunch of jobs populate. And if you're familiar with Handshake, you'll see that this looks kind of similar to Handshake. And you can also apply internally and externally through LinkedIn as well. So when you see the job posting here, right, so here's the title, here's where it's located, all kinds of information, job requirements, educational requirements, all kinds of stuff, right? Read all that. And then you'll see LinkedIn Easy Apply, meaning that all I have to do is upload my resume and submit my application, and that's how I apply. So very, very simple, but to that point, you want to make sure that your profile, that's why we really want to make sure it's completely filled out, looks really strong, because they're going to be looking at your resume, but they're also going to look at your profile too, right? And so that'll be the help them make a decision whether they want to kind of take you to that next level. You can also, if you're looking at jobs, see if you have any connections, right? So here I am looking at this job here, career advisor position, University of Washington, in Seattle, Washington, right? Nowhere near where we are. Yet, there's 5 company alumni from Auburn there and 4 alumni from Rollins College, which was where I attended school. And that's great, right? Like that means there's people there that I could potentially reach out to these people. Now, they may not work in the same field as me, right? But they work somewhere um, in that university, and I could say, hey, I am thinking about applying to this job in University of Washington. I've never lived there before. I'm not familiar with the town. Could you tell me a little bit more about like what it's like? You can ask about like things like cost of living. You can even ask about like the dynamics of the university. You know, do you feel like this is a really inclusive and diverse campus? What's been in your experience? That kind of thing. You can even see if you're connected mutually through anyone. So for instance, I'm looking at this person here and we actually have a second connection. So I am friends with someone who she's also friends with. So right then and there, I have a great avenue to kind of open up that conversation. And I am privy to this information just by virtue of the fact that I'm on LinkedIn. So I don't have to do a ton of research to get that information, which is just really, really beneficial as far as, you know, when you're applying for jobs, right? So that's some basic information there. If you do have any further questions, concerns, please get in touch with our office. The easiest way to do that is through our drop-in process. We have that every day, Monday through Friday from 10 to 3. So you can come in for any reason at all. It could be LinkedIn related, it could be not LinkedIn related. So feel free to utilize that. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much.